The rain comes down in sheets, turning the alley behind the bakery into a river of forgotten things. Cardboard boxes dissolve into mush. Newspaper pages cling to brick walls like desperate prayers. And Lyra huddles beneath the fire escape, her threadbare coat doing nothing against the cold that seeps into her bones. She's been here for 3 weeks now. 3 weeks since the Silver Crest Pack threw her out with nothing but the clothes on her back and a rejection mark burned into her shoulder blade. 3 weeks of surviving on discarded bread and rainwater. 3 weeks of being invisible. Except she's not invisible tonight. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The little boy sees her. He can't be more than 4 years old, standing at the mouth of the alley in expensive clothes that mark him as someone important, someone loved. His dark hair is soaked from the rain, his silver eyes wide and searching as they lock onto her huddled form. And then he speaks, his voice carrying a certainty that makes Lyra's heart stop. "Daddy, I found her. I found Mama." Lyra's first instinct is to run. That's what Omegas like her do when confronted with situations they don't understand. Run, hide, survive. But her body won't cooperate. Maybe it's the exhaustion. Maybe it's the way the child is looking at her, with recognition so profound it feels ancient. Maybe it's the scent that suddenly fills the alley, pine and smoke and something wild that makes her wolf, dormant and broken as it is, stir for the first time in months. The man who appears behind the boy is terrifying. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with a predator's grace despite the expensive suit that clings to his frame. His face is all sharp angles and hard edges, a scar running from his temple to his jaw like a lightning strike, but it's his eyes that steal Lyra's breath. Silver, like his son's, cold as winter steel, the eyes of an alpha who has killed and will kill again without hesitation. The eyes of someone who could crush her with a single command. "Kale," the man says, his voice deep and controlled. "Step back from her." The boy doesn't move. Instead, he walks further into the alley, his small feet splashing through puddles without care. "No, Daddy. She's the one. She smells like home." Lyra presses herself harder against the brick wall, her heart hammering so loudly she's sure they can both hear it. She knows what she must look like, hair matted and filthy, clothes torn and stained, the hollow-eyed desperation of someone who hasn't had a real meal in weeks. She's packless, rejected, worthless. And yet this child is walking toward her like she's something precious. "I'm sorry," Lyra manages, her voice hoarse from disuse. "I don't know what he means. I'll go." She tries to stand, but her legs betray her. Weakness from hunger makes the world tilt sideways. She would have fallen if not for the small hands that suddenly grip her arm. The boy, Kale, he's touching her, and the moment his skin meets hers, something happens. Warmth floods through her body. Not physical warmth, though that comes too, but something deeper. Something that feels like recognition, like pieces of a puzzle sliding into place. Her wolf, silent and withdrawn since her rejection, suddenly lifts its head, listening. Hoping. "See?" Kale says, looking back at his father with triumph in his young voice. "My wolf knows her. She's supposed to be with us." "Imani?" The alpha's expression doesn't change, but Lyra sees his nostrils flare slightly. He's scenting her, analyzing, determining what threat she might pose to his son. "Let go of her, Kale," he says, and this time there's steel beneath the words, a command that cannot be disobeyed. Kale's small hands tighten on her arm instead. "No, she's cold and hungry and scared. We have to help her. We don't know anything about her. I know she's mine," Kale says simply, with the absolute certainty only children possess. "My wolf told me." Lyra finally finds her voice, weak as it is. "Please, I don't want trouble. Your son is mistaken. I'm nobody. Nothing." The alpha moves closer, and Lyra's instinct is to cower, to show submission, to make herself smaller in the presence of such overwhelming power. But Kale is still holding her arm, and somehow that small touch gives her the strength to keep her chin up, to meet those silver eyes even though every instinct screams at her to look away. "What's your name?" the alpha asks. "Lyra." "Your pack?" The question is a knife to the chest. "I don't have one." His eyes narrow. "Everyone has a pack. Even rogues came from somewhere." "I was rejected," Lyra says, the words tasting like ash. By Silver Crest. 3 months ago. She sees recognition flash across his face. Silver Crest is known, even in this city far from traditional pack territories, known for their strength, their pride, their absolute intolerance for weakness. Why were you rejected? Lyra's hand instinctively goes to her shoulder, where the rejection mark burns beneath her coat. My wolf is broken. I can't shift properly. They said I was defective, a waste of resources. The truth sounds even uglier spoken aloud in front of this powerful alpha and his son. But there's no point in lying. He could scent deception anyway. All alphas can. Kale makes a small sound of distress. Your wolf isn't broken. I can feel her. She's just sad. Tears prick at Lyra's eyes. She blinks them back furiously. She hasn't cried since the rejection. Crying is a luxury she can't afford when survival takes everything she has. The alpha studies her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he does something Lyra never expects. He removes his coat. It's a long, expensive thing, probably worth more than everything Lyra has owned in her entire life combined. He holds it out to her. Put this on. Lyra stares at the coat like it might bite her. I can't. You're shivering so hard you can barely speak. He interrupts. Put it on. It's not a request. It's an alpha command. And her omega nature responds before her mind can protest. She takes the coat with trembling hands and wraps it around herself. The warmth is immediate and overwhelming. The scent even more so. Pine and smoke and power that makes her wolf whine with longing. Daddy's coat looks good on you, Kale says, smiling up at her. Now you smell like us. The alpha's jaw tightens at his son's words, but he doesn't contradict them. Instead, he pulls out his phone, speaking quietly into it. Bring the car around. Back entrance. Where are you taking me? Lyra asks, fear creeping back in. Somewhere dry, he replies. Kale, let go of her arm now. But, now. Reluctantly, Kale releases her, though he stays close. You're coming with us, right? You won't run away? Lyra looks between the determined child and his imposing father. Every instinct tells her to refuse, to disappear back into the shadows where she belongs. Getting involved with an alpha this powerful, with a child who seems to see through her in ways she doesn't understand, can only end in more pain. But the coat is warm. And she's so tired of being cold. Just for tonight, she hears herself say. Just until the rain stops. Kale beams at her. That's what they all say. But you'll see. You belong with us. The car that pulls up is exactly what Lyra expects. Black, sleek, expensive. The kind of vehicle that announces power and wealth without saying a word. The driver, a stern-faced beta male, exits and opens the rear door without comment, though his eyes widen slightly when he sees her. In, the alpha commands, gesturing to the car. Lyra hesitates at the threshold. Once she gets in this car, there's no going back. Whatever this is, whatever strange twist of fate brought this child to her alley, will have consequences. Kale climbs in first, then pats the seat beside him. Sit here, next to me. The alpha gets in on Kale's other side, effectively bracketing the boy between them. The door closes with a solid thunk that sounds like finality. As the car pulls away from the alley, from the only home Lyra has known for weeks, she catches sight of herself in the window's reflection. She looks like a ghost. Like something already dead, just waiting for someone to notice. What's your name? She asks quietly, realizing she doesn't even know who this alpha is. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Thorn, he replies, his attention on his phone. Alpha Thorn, Nightshade. The name hits her like a physical blow. Nightshade, the most powerful pack in the Western Territories. The Alpha King's bloodline. And she's sitting in a car with him, wearing his coat, his son calling her mama. I'm going to be sick, Lyra whispers. Thorn's head snaps up, his predator's instincts immediately assessing. Roll down the window, he tells the driver. But Kale just takes her hand, his small fingers threading through hers. Breathe, he says softly. Like this. He demonstrates, taking slow, deep breaths. And impossibly, Lyra finds herself matching him. The nausea passes. The panic recedes slightly. Good, Kale says, squeezing her hand. You're safe now, I promise. Lyra wants to tell him that promises mean nothing in her world, that safety is an illusion for Omegas like her, that this is all a terrible mistake. But the words won't come, because his hand in hers feels right in a way nothing has felt right since her rejection. And his father's scent, surrounding her from the borrowed coat, makes her wolf settle in a way she thought was lost forever. Where are we going? She asks instead. My home, Thorn replies. The Nightshade Estate. Of course, because her life wasn't complicated enough already. Now she's being taken to the most powerful pack's territory, into the heart of their domain, wearing the Alpha King's coat while his son holds her hand like she's something precious instead of something broken. The rain continues to fall against the car windows as the city gives way to the outskirts, where the pack territories begin. Lyra watches it all pass in a blur, wondering if she's dreaming. If she's still in that alley, dying of cold and hunger, and this is just her mind's final kindness before the end. But Kale's hand is warm and real in hers, and Thorn's presence beside them is too solid, too commanding to be imagination. Why did you come to that alley? Lyra finally asks. In the rain, at night. Why were you there? Kale answers before his father can. I made Daddy go. My wolf said she was there. Said she needed us. Lyra looks at Thorn, seeing the tension in his jaw. He's been having dreams, the Alpha admits reluctantly. For weeks. Dreams of someone who needed finding. Tonight he was insistent that we go to that exact location. Dreams. Lyra repeats. Kale is unusually sensitive, Thorn continues, his tone making it clear this is not a conversation he's comfortable having. Since his mother died, he's developed certain abilities. Gifts that most pups don't manifest until much older, if at all. The mention of Kale's mother hangs in the air. Lyra wants to ask what happened, but the rigid set of Thorn's shoulders warns her away from that topic. I'm sorry for your loss, she says instead. Kale looks up at her, his silver eyes ancient beyond his years. Mama went to the moon goddess when I was born, but the moon goddess told me she'd send someone else, someone who smells like home. The conviction in his voice makes Lyra's chest tight. Kale, I'm not, you are. He interrupts with the absolute certainty of childhood faith. You just don't know it yet. The Nightshade Estate rises from the landscape like something from a dream. Or a nightmare, depending on perspective. Stone and timber, construction that speaks of old money and older power. Guards at the gates who snap to attention as the car approaches. Manicured grounds even in winter, everything speaking of control and dominance. Lyra's hands start to shake again as they pull up to the main house. I can't go in there. I'm not clean. I'm not fit to... You're going in, Thorn says flatly. You can be stubborn about it, or you can accept help. Choose. It's not really a choice, and they both know it. But the fact that he's phrasing it as one gives Lyra a small thread of dignity to hold on to. The house is even more impressive inside. Warm lighting, rich furnishings, everything that speaks of a pack that's thrived for generations. Servants appear immediately, their expressions carefully neutral, as they take in the filthy Omega standing in their Alpha's coat. Draw a bath, Thorn commands, and find appropriate clothing. A middle-aged woman, clearly the head housekeeper from the keys at her belt, steps forward. Of course, Alpha. Should I prepare the guest wing or the room adjacent to Kale's nursery? Thorn interrupts. Several of the servants exchange glances. That room, Lyra realizes, must have significance. Must have been someone important's space. Daddy, can she eat with us? Kale asks, still holding Lyra's hand. She's really hungry. I can feel it. Thorn looks at Lyra, and she sees him taking in her hollow cheeks, the way his coat hangs on her frame. When did you last eat? Yesterday, Lyra lies. It's been 3 days, but admitting that feels too much like begging. His eyes narrow. The truth. The Alpha command in his voice pulls the words from her before she can stop them. 3 days, maybe 4. I lose track sometimes. Kale makes a distressed sound. Daddy, that's too long. Way too long. I'm aware, Thorn says, his tone colder than before. But Lyra realizes the coldness isn't directed at her. He's angry on her behalf, and she doesn't know what to do with that. Mrs. Chen, prepare a light meal. Nothing too heavy. Her stomach won't be able to handle much. The housekeeper nods and disappears toward what must be the kitchens. "Come," Thorn says to Lyra. "You'll bathe and change before eating. Kale, go with Mrs. Chen." "But now." Kale reluctantly releases Lyra's hand, but not before squeezing it one more time. "I'll see you soon," he promises. "You're not going anywhere." Then he's gone, and Lyra is alone with the Alpha King in his grand entrance hall, wearing his coat, feeling more out of place than she has in her entire life. "Follow me," Thorn says, already moving toward a sweeping staircase. Lyra follows because what else can she do? Her legs are shaking with exhaustion and hunger, and she has to concentrate on each step to keep from stumbling. They climb to the second floor, walk down a hallway lined with portraits of past Nightshade Alphas, all of them powerful and commanding, all of them everything Lyra is not. Thorn stops at a door and opens it, revealing a bedroom that makes Lyra's breath catch. It's beautiful. Soft blues and silvers, a massive bed with what looks like the finest linens, a window seat overlooking gardens now silvered with moonlight. And through an open door, she can see a bathroom with a tub that looks like it could fit 3 people. "This is too much," Lyra whispers. "I don't need what you need," Thorn interrupts, turning to face her, "is to stop arguing with me. You're exhausted, starving, and from the way you're favoring your left side, injured. You'll bathe, eat, and rest. Tomorrow we'll discuss what happens next. Why are you helping me?" The question bursts out before Lyra can stop it. "You don't know me. Your son's dreams don't mean anything. I'm just a rejected Omega who my son has claimed as his." Thorn finishes, and there's something in his expression that Lyra can't read. Kale has never been wrong about these things, not once since his gifts manifested. He moves closer, and Lyra's back hits the doorframe, but he doesn't touch her. Just stands there, close enough that she can feel his heat, smell the pine and smoke scent that makes her wolf whimper. "My son hasn't smiled since his mother died," Thorn says quietly. "He hasn't laughed, hasn't played. The healers said he was grieving in a way that no 4-year-old should have to grieve, that his gifts were his mind's way of coping with trauma." He pauses, and Lyra sees something crack in his carefully controlled expression, something raw and painful. "Tonight, in that car, he smiled at you, held your hand like you were the most natural thing in his world. So no, Lyra of Silver Crest, I don't know you, but my son does, and that's enough for now." Before Lyra can respond, he steps back. "Mrs. Chen will bring clothing and food. Lock the door if it makes you feel safer. But know this, no one in this house will harm you. You have my word as Alpha." Then he's gone, leaving Lyra alone in a bedroom that costs more than her entire life was worth to her former pack. She stands there for a long moment, trying to process everything that's happened in the last hour. This morning she was dying in an alley. Now she's in the Nightshade estate, in a room that might have belonged to the dead Luna, wearing an Alpha King's coat while his son calls her mama. It's insane, all of it. But the bathroom is right there, and the tub is already filling with hot water that she can see steaming from the doorway, and she's so tired of being cold and dirty and forgotten. Lyra removes Thorn's coat carefully, folding it despite its size, despite how much she wants to keep it wrapped around her forever. She strips off her ruined clothes, trying not to look at her reflection in the mirrors. She knows what she'll see: ribs too prominent, bruises from sleeping on concrete, the rejection mark on her shoulder blade, a brand that marks her as unwanted. The water is almost too hot when she sinks into it, making her gasp. But then her body adjusts, and the heat seeps into her bones, chasing away cold that's been there so long she'd forgotten what warmth felt like. There are soaps and oils, all of them smelling expensive and foreign. Lyra uses them sparingly, washing away weeks of grime and desperation. Her hair takes longest, matted and tangled, but eventually even that comes clean. When she finally emerges, wrapped in a towel that's softer than anything she's ever touched, she finds clothing laid out on the bed. A simple dress, in deep blue, undergarments, soft socks, and beside them, a tray with food. Not the heavy meal Thorn mentioned, but soup, bread, cheese, and water in a crystal glass. Lyra's stomach clenches at the sight, but she forces herself to eat slowly, small bites, letting her body adjust. The soup is perfect, warm and nourishing, the bread fresh, the cheese sharp and real, She's halfway through the meal when she realizes she's crying. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just quiet, tears that track down her clean cheeks and drip onto the tray. Relief and gratitude and terror all mixed together until she can't separate them. A soft knock at the door makes her freeze. "It's just me," Kale's voice calls. "Can I come in? Daddy said I could if you said yes." Lyra quickly wipes her face. "Yes." The door opens and Kale slips inside, now dressed in pajamas covered in little wolves. He climbs onto the bed beside her, eyeing the tray. "You're eating," he says with satisfaction. "Good. You need to get strong." "Why?" Lyra asks gently. "What do you think I'm here for, Kale?" He looks at her with those ancient silver eyes. "To be mine," he says simply. "To be ours. You, me, and Daddy. That's how it's supposed to be. Your father barely knows me. Just to be one." "His wolf knows you," Kale counters. "He just doesn't listen to his wolf very much anymore. Not since Mama died. But he will. Eventually." There's such certainty in his voice that Lyra almost believes it, almost lets herself hope that maybe this strange, impossible situation could be real. "Tell me about your dreams," she says instead. "The ones that led you to me." Kale settles against the pillows, his small body relaxing. "I see her sometimes. Mama. She visits me in my dreams and tells me things. She said the moon goddess had a special plan. That someone was coming who would smell like home, like safety, like pack." He reaches out and takes Lyra's hand again. "I've been dreaming about you for weeks. Your face, your scent. And tonight, my wolf just knew exactly where to find you." "But I'm broken," Lyra whispers. "My wolf can't shift properly. I'm weak." "You survived," Kale interrupts fiercely. "Alone, with no pack, in the cold. You survived when lots of people wouldn't. That's not weak." The simple statement, delivered with such conviction from a 4-year-old, breaks something open in Lyra's chest. "You should sleep," she says, her voice rough. "It's late. Will you still be here? In the morning?" Kale asks, sudden worry in his eyes. "You won't leave?" Lyra knows she should hedge, should give herself an out. But looking at this child who somehow sees her as something precious instead of something disposable, she can't bring herself to lie. "I'll be here," she promises, "at least for tomorrow." Kale's smile is like the sun breaking through clouds. "Good. Because tomorrow Daddy's going to ask you to stay forever. My wolf told me." He hops off the bed before Lyra can respond, pausing at the door. "The moon goddess doesn't make mistakes," he says seriously. "Remember that." Then he's gone, and Lyra is alone with a half-eaten meal, clean clothes, and a hope she's terrified to acknowledge. Outside, the rain has finally stopped. Lyra wakes to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the disorienting softness of a real bed. For a moment, she thinks she's dreaming, that she's still in the alley, hypothermic and hallucinating comfort. Then she smells it: coffee, bacon, the rich scent of a pack house kitchen in full morning production, and pine, smoke, the lingering ghost of an alpha's scent on the coat that's draped over a chair by the window. It wasn't a dream. She sits up slowly, her body protesting. Clean as she is, well-fed as she was last night, weeks of surviving on the streets don't disappear overnight. Her muscles ache. Her ribs are still too prominent beneath the borrowed nightgown someone must have left while she slept. A knock at the door makes her tense. "Miss Lyra?" A woman's voice. "Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper. May I come in?" "Yes." The older woman enters with the efficiency of someone who's been managing a pack house for decades. She carries more clothing, all neatly folded. Her expression is carefully neutral as she sets them on the dresser. "Good morning, Mrs. Chen says. "The Alpha requests your presence at breakfast in 20 minutes. I've brought appropriate attire." Lyra nods, not trusting her voice. Appropriate attire for what? For being the stray Omega that the Alpha King's son dragged home? For pretending she belongs in a place like this? Mrs. Chen must sense her distress, because her expression softens slightly. The gray dress will do nicely, simple but respectful. "And Miss Lyra?" She pauses at the door. "Young Kale has been waiting outside your room since dawn. The Alpha had to order him to the breakfast table 3 times. Something warm unfurls in Lyra's chest at that image. "Thank you for telling me." When Mrs. Chen leaves, Lyra examines the clothing. The gray dress is indeed simple, but it's well made. Soft fabric that speaks of quality without ostentation. There are undergarments, stockings, even shoes that look like they might actually fit. She dresses quickly, her hands only shaking a little. When she catches sight of herself in the mirror, she barely recognizes the woman staring back. Clean hair that falls in pale blonde waves. Skin no longer gray with cold and hunger. The hollow look in her eyes is still there, but muted somehow. She looks almost normal, almost like she could belong here. The rejection mark on her shoulder throbs, reminding her that appearances lie. The walk to the breakfast room feels like miles. Servants pass her in the hallways, all of them doing double takes. Some nod respectfully. Others whisper as soon as they think she's out of earshot. The stray Omega in the dead Luna's room. The Alpha King's strange charity case. The child's new fixation. She hears it all, even when they think she can't. The breakfast room is smaller than she expected, more intimate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the gardens, now visible in morning light. And at the table sits Thorn, dressed in dark clothing that emphasizes his powerful build, his silver eyes focused on a tablet in front of him. Beside him, practically vibrating with excitement, is Kale. "You came," the boy exclaims, jumping from his chair. "Daddy said you would, but I was worried you might be scared." "Kale," Thorn says, without looking up from his tablet. "Return to your seat." The command is gentle but firm. Kale complies, though he keeps his eyes on Lyra as she enters the room. "Sit," Thorn says, gesturing to the chair across from him. "You must be hungry." It's not a question. He knows she is. Can probably sense it, the way all alphas can sense weakness in omegas. Lyra sits carefully, her posture rigid with tension. The table is laden with food, more food than she's seen in months. Her stomach growls audibly. "Eat," Thorn commands, his tone leaving no room for argument. So she does. Small portions, mindful of what her stomach can handle. Eggs, toast. A slice of bacon that tastes like heaven. She forces herself to eat slowly, to not reveal the desperate hunger that claws at her insides. Kale chatters through the meal, telling her about his room, his toys, the pack's training grounds that he's not allowed to visit yet but watches from his window. Thorn says little, but she feels his eyes on her, assessing, calculating. "You slept well?" he asks finally. "Yes, Alpha. Thank you." "Thorn," he corrects. "In this house, you may use my name." The informality should comfort her. Instead, it terrifies her, because informality implies closeness. Implies she's something other than a charity case he'll discard when convenient. "Tell me about your wolf," Thorn says, setting down his coffee. "You said she's broken. Explain." Lyra's hand instinctively goes to her shoulder, where the rejection mark burns beneath the dress. "I can't shift fully. Haven't been able to since I presented at 16. The transformation starts, but then it just stops. Leaves me trapped between forms, in agony, until it reverses. And Silver Crest's healers? Said I was defective, that my Omega nature was too weak to sustain a full wolf form. The words taste like poison, but she forces them out. They tried everything. Herbs, rituals, forced shifts. Nothing worked. Eventually, they decided I wasn't worth the resources. Kale has gone very still, his young face serious. "Your wolf isn't broken," he says quietly. "She's just sleeping, hiding." "Kale," Thorn starts. "She is, Daddy. I can feel her. She's scared, but she's there." Lyra wants to believe him. Wants to believe that somewhere inside her, her wolf is whole and just waiting for the right moment. But years of pain and failure have taught her better. "It doesn't matter," she says, keeping her voice steady. "Broken or sleeping, the result is the same. I can't shift. Can't fulfill basic Omega functions. Can't bond properly with a pack. Yet you survived 3 months alone," Thorn observes. "Most Omegas die within weeks without pack bonds. Surviving isn't the same as living." Something flickers in his silver eyes. Understanding, perhaps, or recognition of a truth he knows too well. "Daddy doesn't shift much anymore either," Kale says suddenly. "Not since Mama died. His wolf is sad too." Thorn's expression shudders immediately. "That's different." "Is it?" Kale challenges, with the fearlessness only a beloved child can possess. You always say your wolf is important, that we have to listen to our wolves. But you stopped listening to yours. The tension in the room ratchets up several notches. Lyra keeps her eyes on her plate, wishing she could disappear into the furniture. I see that. Finish your breakfast, Thorn tells his son, his voice cold. Then you have lessons with Tutor Marcus. But I want to show Lyra my room, and the gardens. And after lessons. Cale's face falls, but he doesn't argue further. The rest of the meal passes in uncomfortable silence. When Cale is finally dismissed, leaving with obvious reluctance, Lyra finds herself alone with the Alpha King. The weight of his regard feels physical. You don't have to keep me here, she says quietly. I'm grateful for the meal, for the room. But I understand if… What? Do you understand? Thorn interrupts. That this is complicated, that your son is young and confused, that having a stray Omega in your house can't be good for your reputation or my reputation. He repeats, and there's something dangerous in his tone now. Is not your concern? Then what is? Lyra asks, frustration breaking through her careful deference. What do you want from me, Alpha? Why bring me here if not to… My son claimed you, Thorn cuts in, leaning forward. Do you understand what that means? A 4-year-old child with gifts we barely understand looked at you and said, mine. Said you smell like home. He stands, moving around the table with predatory grace. Lyra's instinct is to run, but she forces herself to stay seated. Cale hasn't spoken about his mother in months, Thorn continues, stopping beside her chair. Hasn't cried, hasn't asked questions, hasn't processed his grief in any healthy way. The pack healers, the therapists, everyone we consulted, said the same thing. He's burying his trauma so deep it's going to destroy him eventually. Lyra looks up at him, seeing the pain beneath the Alpha's controlled exterior. Then last night, he holds your hand in a car and smiles. This morning, he laughed at breakfast for the first time since his mother died. So no, Lyra, you're not leaving. Not until I understand what you are to my son. I'm nobody, Lyra whispers. I'm a broken Omega with no pack and no future. Your son deserves better than… My son deserves whatever makes him whole again, Thorn interrupts. And right now, that appears to be you. He moves back to his seat, but the intensity doesn't leave his eyes. You'll stay. For Cale. We'll establish a cover story for the pack. You're a distant cousin, perhaps, or a friend of the family. Something that explains your presence without inviting too many questions. And when he realizes I'm not what he thinks I am? Lyra asks. When the fantasy breaks and he sees me for what I really am, then we'll deal with it, Thorn says simply. But until that happens, you'll remain here. In comfort, in safety. Is that acceptable? It's not really a question. It's an Alpha giving an Omega a choice between compliance and being forced to comply. But Lyra nods anyway. Because the alternative is going back to that alley. And after one night in a real bed, after one morning without hunger gnawing at her insides, she's not sure she could survive that again. Good, Thorn says, returning his attention to his tablet. Mrs. Chen will show you around the estate. Make yourself familiar with the grounds. Stay away from the pack training areas and the council rooms, otherwise you're free to move about as you please. Thank you, Alpha. Thorn, he corrects again. And Lyra? He looks up, pinning her with that silver gaze. Whatever happened to you in Silver Crest, whatever they told you that you were or weren't, you're safe here. You have my word, the promise, settles over her like a warm blanket, and despite every instinct telling her not to trust, not to hope, Lyra feels something in her chest unclench slightly. Maybe, just maybe, she can allow herself this. Just for a little while. The Nightshade estate is enormous. Mrs. Chen guides Lyra through seemingly endless corridors, pointing out rooms and wings with practiced efficiency. The library, with more books than Lyra has seen in her lifetime. The solarium, all glass and greenery. The kitchens, where staff work with military precision. And everywhere, portraits of past Nightshade Alphas stare down from walls. Strong faces, commanding presences, generations of power and dominance. This was Luna Sarah's room, Mrs. Chen says, pausing at a closed door on the second floor. The Alpha King hasn't opened it since her death. Lyra nods, not knowing what to say. The ghost of Thorn's dead mate hangs over everything here. The woman who gave him a son and died for it. The warrior Luna who, from the whispers Lyra has caught, was everything an alpha's mate should be. Everything Lyra is not. They're heading toward the gardens when a voice stops them. "Mrs. Chen, is this the stray?" Lyra turns to find a woman in the hallway. Tall, beautiful, with dark hair and sharp green eyes. An alpha female, from the power rolling off her in waves. She's dressed in training leathers, a knife at her belt, every inch a warrior. "This is Miss Lyra," Mrs. Chen says carefully. "A guest of the Alpha King." A guest of the Alpha King. The woman's eyes narrow as she looks Lyra up and down, taking in everything. The borrowed dress, the too thin frame, the omega scent that Lyra can never quite hide. "I'm Vera," she says, not offering her hand. "Head of the Alpha King's personal guard. I don't believe we've had the pleasure." It's not pleasure in her tone. It's suspicion. "Lyra," she manages, "I'm wondering why you're here?" Vera interrupts. "So are we all. The Alpha King doesn't typically bring home strays, especially not omegas." "Vera," Mrs. Chen warns. The Alpha has given his word. The Alpha has given his word to a woman none of us know," Vera counters. A packless omega with no references, no background, nothing but young Kyle's insistence that she smells like home. Forgive me if I'm not immediately comfortable with that arrangement. Lyra feels her face flush. Everything Vera is saying is reasonable. Is what she'd think too, if their positions were reversed. "I don't want to cause trouble," Lyra says quietly. "I'm just here because Kale decided you were important," Vera finishes. "Yes, I'm aware. But Kale is 4 years old and grieving his mother. He's not in a position to make decisions about pack security. And you are?" The question comes from behind them. Thorn's voice, cold as winter steel. Vera immediately inclines her head in submission. "Alpha. I was merely questioning my judgment?" Thorn finishes, moving past. Put them to stand beside Lyra. His presence is overwhelming, protective, suggesting that I'm too foolish to properly vet someone before bringing them into my home? "No, Alpha. Of course not. Lyra is under my protection," Thorn says, his tone leaving no room for argument. "That means she's under pack protection. Anyone who has concerns about her presence can bring them to me directly. Is that understood?" Vera's jaw tightens, but she nods. "Understood, Alpha." "Good. Return to your duties. It's a dismissal." Vera leaves, but not before shooting Lyra one more suspicious glance. When she's gone, Thorn turns to Lyra. "You'll encounter that," he says bluntly. "Resistance. Suspicion. The pack is protective of Kale, and wary of outsiders." "I understand," Lyra says. "She's right to be concerned. She's right to be cautious," Thorn corrects. "There's a difference." He pauses, studying her. "Does it bother you? The hostility?" Lyra almost laughs. "I was rejected by my entire pack and thrown out with nothing. A few suspicious looks are nothing." Something shifts in his expression. Respect, maybe? Or recognition of someone who's learned to endure. "Mrs. Chen, show her the rest of the estate," Thorn says. "I have pack business to attend to. Lyra, you'll join us for dinner tonight. 7 o'clock. He's gone before she can respond, leaving her with Mrs. Chen and the lingering scent of pine and smoke. "He doesn't usually explain himself," Mrs. Chen says quietly as they resume walking. "The fact that he defended you to Vera, that he's making these accommodations, it means something." "What does it mean?" Lyra asks. The housekeeper's expression is knowing. "Aft. That young Kale isn't the only one whose wolf has taken notice of you." The afternoon passes in a blur. Mrs. Chen finishes the tour, then leaves Lyra to explore on her own. She finds herself drawn to the library, to books she never had time to read when survival took all her energy. She's curled in a window seat, absorbed in a novel about distant places, when she senses she's not alone. "I knew I'd find you here," Kale says, climbing up beside her. "Daddy always comes to the library when he needs to think." "Aren't you supposed to be in lessons?" "Finished," Kale announces proudly. "Tutor Marcus says I'm very advanced for my age. Now I get free time, and I want to spend it with you." His simple declaration makes Lyra's chest tight. When was the last time someone wanted to spend time with her? Not because they had to, not because she was useful, but just because? What would you like to do? She asks. Kale's face lights up. Can you tell me a story? Mama used to tell me stories before she died, about brave wolves and ancient packs. But then she was gone and nobody tells stories anymore. The request is so earnest, so hopeful, that Lyra can't refuse. All right, she says. What kind of story? One about someone who was lost and then found, Kale says, snuggling against her side, with a happy ending. Lyra thinks for a moment, then begins to speak. She tells him about a young wolf who was separated from her pack in a storm. About how she wandered alone, afraid, certain she'd never find home again. But then she followed the scent of pine smoke and found a new pack waiting, one that had been searching for her without even knowing it. It's just a story, a fairy tale. But Kale listens with rapt attention, his small body warm against hers. When she finishes, he looks up at her with those ancient silver eyes. That's like you, he says. You were lost, and now you're found. Maybe, Lyra allows, not wanting to shatter his belief. Not maybe, Kale insists. Definitely. The moon goddess doesn't make mistakes. Mama told me that before she died. Your mother must have been very wise. She was the strongest warrior in the pack, Kale says proudly. Daddy says she could take down 3 alphas at once. And she was kind too. She used to sing to me. His face clouds. I'm starting to forget what her voice sounded like. Lyra's heart breaks for this child who's lost so much so young. That's okay, she says gently. Memory fades, but love doesn't. Your mother loved you very much. That doesn't change. Do you think she'd like you? Kale asks suddenly. If she was still alive? The question catches Lyra off guard. I don't know. I never met her. I think she would, Kale decides. I think she sent you, from wherever she is now, because she knew Daddy and I needed someone. Before Lyra can respond, the library door opens. Thorn enters, still in the formal clothing from earlier, though he's loosened his collar slightly. He stops when he sees them curled together in the window seat. Kale, you're supposed to inform someone when you leave the nursery wing, he says, but there's no real heat in the reprimand. I found Lyra, Kale explains. She was reading, so I asked her to tell me a story. Did she? Yes. About a lost wolf who found a new pack. It had a happy ending. Thorn's eyes meet Lyra's over his son's head. There's something in his gaze she can't interpret, something that makes her pulse quicken. It's nearly time for your afternoon training, Thorn tells Kale. Beta Marcus is waiting. Kale groans but climbs down from the window seat. Before leaving, he turns back to Lyra. You'll be at dinner, right? You promised. I'll be there, Lyra confirms. When Kale is gone, escorted out by a servant who appeared at Thorn's silent signal, the alpha moves closer to the window seat. He's attached to you already, he observes. I'm sorry, Lyra says automatically. I can pull back, be less available. Don't. The command is sharp. Don't change how you interact with him. He needs this. Needs you, apparently. Thorn sits in the chair across from her, and Lyra is struck by how tired he looks, the weight of leadership evident in every line of his body. Thank you, he says after a moment, for the story, for being patient with him. He's easy to be patient with, Lyra replies honestly. He's a remarkable child. He is, Thorn agrees. Too remarkable sometimes, too aware. He sees things others don't, knows things he shouldn't. Like his dreams about me. Like his dreams about you, Thorn confirms. He leans back, studying her. My advisors think I'm making a mistake, bringing you here, allowing Kale to get attached. They think you're an opportunist. Or worse. What do you think? Lyra asks, even though she's not sure she wants to hear the answer. Thorn is quiet for a long moment. I think my son smiled this morning. I think he told a story about his mother without crying. I think something about you makes him feel safe in a way nothing has since Sarah died. He stands, moving to the window. I also think there's more to you than you're revealing. Your wolf may be broken, but you survived months alone. You have no pack, but you carry yourself with dignity. You're afraid, but you haven't run. He turns back to her, his silver eyes intense. So what are you really, Lyra? What aren't you telling me? Lyra's mouth goes dry. Because he's right. There are things she hasn't said. Things she's buried so deep she barely acknowledges them herself. I'm exactly what I appear to be, she says carefully. A rejected omega with nowhere else to go. Liar. The word is soft but cutting. Daddy, Kale's voice echoes from down the hall. Beta Marcus says we have to practice shifting today. Thorn holds Lyra's gaze for one more moment, then turns to leave. At the door, he pauses. Tonight at dinner, we'll discuss your role here more formally. What's expected, what you'll be allowed. The pack needs to understand your place. He pauses. And Lyra? Whatever secrets you're hiding, I'll discover them eventually. It's what I do. Then he's gone, and Lyra is left alone with racing thoughts and a truth she's not ready to face. Because Thorn is right. She is hiding something. Her wolf isn't broken, isn't sleeping. She's locked, chained, bound by silver and blood magic after a rejection that was about more than weakness. And if anyone discovers why Silver Crest really cast her out, staying here will become impossible. Dinner is a formal affair. The dining room is larger than the breakfast space, with a table that could seat 20. Tonight only 4 places are set, Thorn at the head, Kale to his right, and across from Kale, a place for Lyra. The 4th setting remains empty. That was Mama's seat, Kale explains when he sees Lyra looking at it. Daddy hasn't let anyone sit there since she died. Lyra nods, understanding the significance. Some losses are too great to fill. Thorn enters last, changed into fresh clothing. He looks every inch the Alpha King tonight, commanding and dangerous. When he sits, everyone else follows. The meal is elaborate, course after course, each more exquisite than the last. Kale chatters through most of it, telling his father about his lessons, about Beta Marcus's promise to teach him advanced tracking techniques. Thorn listens with half his attention, the other half clearly on Lyra. When dessert is cleared, he finally speaks what's been hanging in the air all evening. Lyra will be staying with us indefinitely, he announces, though there's no one but them to hear. As Kale's companion and caretaker, her rooms will remain where they are, adjacent to the nursery wing. Can she come to my lessons? Kale asks eagerly. Tutor Marcus says I learn better when I'm happy. If Tutor Marcus approves and Lyra is willing, Thorn allows. He turns to her. You'll also need appropriate clothing, more than the few items Mrs. Chen has provided. I've arranged for a dressmaker to visit tomorrow. That's not necessary, Lyra protests. I don't need. You'll be representing this household when you accompany Kale, Thorn interrupts. You'll dress accordingly. It's not up for debate, just another alpha command disguised as courtesy. There's a pack gathering next week, Thorn continues. The full moon ceremony. You'll attend with us. Lyra's stomach drops. A pack ceremony means hundreds of wolves, means being scrutinized, judged, potentially challenged. Alpha, I don't think, it's not optional, he says flatly. Kale's place requires you by his side. The pack needs to see you, to understand your role here. They'll never accept me, Lyra says quietly. I'm packless, rejected. They'll sense it immediately. They'll accept what I tell them to accept, Thorn replies. And there's steel in his voice now. You're under my protection. That makes you untouchable. But Lyra knows better. Protection only extends so far, and pack bonds run deep. Can I be excused? She asks, her appetite gone. I'm tired. Thorn studies her for a long moment, then nods. Kale, say goodnight to Lyra. The boy scrambles from his chair to hug her. Don't be sad, he whispers against her shoulder. It's all going to work out, I promise. She wishes she had his certainty, his absolute faith that the universe will align in their favor. Back in her room, Lyra stands at the window, looking out at the moonlit grounds. Somewhere in the distance, she can hear wolves howling. Pack members running together, bonded and whole. Everything she can never be again. A soft knock interrupts her thoughts. It's open, she calls, expecting Mrs. Chen. But it's Thorn who enters, closing the door softly behind him. They stare at each other in the dim lamplight, Lyra in her borrowed dress, Thorn still in his formal dinner attire. You're afraid, he observes. Of course I'm afraid, Lyra replies. I'm a rejected Omega, living in the most powerful pack's territory, about to be presented to hundreds of wolves who will smell my failure. You're not a failure. I can't shift properly, can't bond, can't fulfill basic. Can you care for my son? Thorn interrupts. Can you make him smile? Can you tell him stories and hold his hand and make him feel safe? Lyra blinks, thrown by the questions. Yes, but then you can fulfill the most important function there is, Thorn says, moving closer. Everything else is secondary. He's near enough now that she can feel his heat, smell the pine smoke scent that makes her broken wolf whimper with longing. What do you want from me? Lyra whispers. Really? Thorn's hand comes up, his knuckles brushing her cheek. The touch is gentle, questioning. I want my son to keep smiling, he says quietly. I want to understand why your scent makes my wolf calm for the first time in a year. I want to know what you're hiding and why it terrifies you so much. His thumb traces her jaw. And I want to know why every instinct I have is screaming at me to keep you close, to protect you, He stops, pulling his hand back. But wanting things and having them are different, especially for an alpha who's already lost one mate. The vulnerability in his voice steals Lyra's breath. I should go, Thorn says, already moving toward the door. Sleep well, Lyra. Wait, she calls impulsively. He stops, hand on the doorknob, looking back at her. Thank you, Lyra says, for everything. For bringing me here. For protecting me. For letting me have this, even if it's temporary. Something raw crosses his face. It doesn't have to be temporary. Then he's gone, leaving Lyra alone with a racing heart and hope she's terrified to acknowledge. Outside, the wolves continue their howls. And deep inside Lyra, behind silver chains and blood magic, her wolf finally stirs, listening, waiting, hoping. The dressmaker arrives at dawn, bringing trunks full of fabric samples and sketches. Mrs. Chen supervises while Lyra stands awkwardly as the woman takes measurements, her practiced hands efficient but impersonal. The Alpha King specified formal attire suitable for pack ceremonies, the dressmaker says, more to Mrs. Chen than to Lyra. And everyday clothing appropriate for a high-ranking household member. High-ranking. The words sit wrong on Lyra's skin. She's a charity case, not pack royalty. Arms up, dear, the dressmaker instructs. The gray will complement your coloring beautifully. And perhaps the deep blue for the full moon ceremony? Traditional but elegant. Kale appears in the doorway, still in his pajamas. Is Lyra getting new dresses? Can she have one with wolves on it like my shirts? The dressmaker looks scandalized at the suggestion, but Lyra can't help smiling. I think wolves might be a bit much for formal occasions. But you're part of our pack now, Kale insists, padding into the room. You should have wolves. Kale, you're supposed to be getting dressed, Mrs. Chen chides gently. Your father will expect you at breakfast in 20 minutes. Can Lyra come? When the fitting is finished. Kale sighs dramatically but complies though. Not before taking Lyra's hand and squeezing it. Don't let them make everything boring, he whispers. You're too pretty for boring dresses. When he's gone, the dressmaker exchanges a meaningful look with Mrs. Chen. The young prince is quite taken with her. He is, Mrs. Chen confirms, her tone warning against further comment. The fitting takes another hour. By the end, Lyra has been measured, pinned, and promised a wardrobe that seems excessive for someone whose future here is uncertain at best. She finds Kale and Thorn in the breakfast room, deep in conversation about proper hunting stances. Thorn is demonstrating with his hands, and Kale is mimicking him with intense concentration. They both look up when she enters. Finally, Kale exclaims. Daddy said we couldn't start eating until you got here. I'm starving. You're always starving, Thorn observes dryly, but there's warmth beneath the words. Lyra takes her seat, acutely aware of Thorn's gaze tracking her movements. He's dressed for pack business today, all authority and control. The full moon ceremony is in 6 days, he says without preamble. You'll need to understand the protocol. After breakfast, Vera will brief you on proper behavior and positioning. Lyra's stomach tightens. Vera, who already made her distrust clear. Is that necessary? You'll be standing with Kale during the ceremony. Thorn explains. That position requires specific conduct. Vera is the best person to explain it. Can't you explain it? Lyra asks before she can stop herself. Something flickers in Thorn's eyes. I could, but the pack needs to see you working with my head of security. needs to understand that Vera's accepted your presence. Has she? Lyra challenges quietly. She will, Thorn says with absolute certainty. Because I've commanded it. After breakfast, Lyra finds herself in Vera's office, a stark room filled with weapons, maps, and strategic plans. The dark-haired Alpha sits behind her desk, radiating controlled hostility. The Alpha King has ordered me to prepare you for the ceremony, Vera says without pleasantries. So let's be clear from the start. I don't trust you. I don't like that you're here. But I follow my Alpha's commands, so I'll do my duty. Understood, Lyra replies, keeping her voice steady. During the full moon ceremony, you'll stand on the Alpha's platform with Kale, Vera continues. That's a position of extreme honor, typically reserved for bonded mates or blood family. You being there will cause talk. Then maybe I shouldn't. The Alpha's orders are absolute, Vera interrupts. You'll be there. What matters is how you conduct yourself. Eyes down unless directly addressed. Minimal movement. No speaking unless spoken to. You're there as Kale's companion, not as an equal. Each instruction is delivered like a small cut. Reminders that Lyra's presence is tolerated, not welcomed. You'll wear traditional Omega colors, Vera continues. Nothing. That could be mistaken for Luna status. And you'll stay behind Kale at all times. Understand? I understand that I'm not supposed to exist above my station, Lyra says quietly. I've had that lesson before. Vera's eyes narrow. Then you know how pack hierarchy works. Good. That will make this easier. She stands, moving to a cabinet and pulling out a thick leather-bound book. These are pack protocols. Study them. Memorize them. If you embarrass the Alpha King at this ceremony, you'll answer to me. Clear? Crystal. Vera holds her gaze for a long moment, then seems to come to some decision. Her posture relaxes slightly. Look, I don't know what game you're playing. If you're genuinely here to help Kale or if you're working some angle, but that boy has been through enough. If you hurt him, I won't, Lyra interrupts. Whatever you think of me, I would never hurt Kale. Intentionally or not, people get hurt, Vera replies, especially when they're in positions they don't belong in. Before Lyra can respond, the office door bursts open. A young beta, breathing hard, wild-eyed with alarm. Captain Vera, we have a situation at the eastern border. Vera is instantly all business. Report. Silver Crest wolves, 4 of them, requesting an audience with the Alpha King. They say. The beta's eyes flick to Lyra. They say they're here to retrieve stolen property. The blood drains from Lyra's face. They found her. Vera's office becomes a flurry of activity. She's barking orders into a radio, dispatching guards, establishing defensive positions. Through it all, her eyes keep returning to Lyra. What did you steal? She demands. Nothing, Lyra whispers. I took nothing when I left. Then why would Silvercrest track you here? Why risk crossing onto Nightshade territory to retrieve a rejected Omega? I don't know. Lyra lies. But she does know. She knows exactly why they've come. Because she's not just a rejected Omega. She's a runaway bride, promised to an Alpha she'd never met, to a pack alliance that would have made Silvercrest wealthy and powerful. And when she couldn't shift, when the wedding night would have revealed her defect, she'd fled rather than face the consequences. Silvercrest doesn't care about her. They care about the bride price they'll lose if she's not delivered. The Alpha King needs to be informed. Vera says, already moving toward the door. You stay here. Don't move. But as soon as Vera's gone, Lyra runs. Not toward her room or the gardens or anywhere else in the estate. She runs toward the stables, toward freedom, toward the forest where she can disappear again. Because staying means Thorn will learn the truth. Means Kale will discover she's not some moon goddess gift but a coward who ran from her obligations. Means losing the one safe place she's found in months. She's halfway to the tree line when a massive black wolf appears, blocking her path. Thorn. He shifts with terrifying speed, standing before her naked and furious. Where do you think you're going? Away, Lyra gasps, trying to move around him. Before they tell you what I am, before you realize, he grabs her arms, not roughly but firmly. Before I realize what? That Silvercrest sent envoys to reclaim you? That there's more to your rejection than you've said? You don't understand, Lyra says desperately. I was promised to someone. Arranged marriage. But I couldn't shift, and on the wedding night they would have discovered it, and You ran, Thorn finishes. You saved yourself from a forced bonding. I broke a pack alliance, Lyra corrects, tears streaming down her face now. Cost Silver Crest a fortune in bride price. They'll demand compensation or my return. And you'll realize I'm not worth the political complications. Thorn's grip tightens. Do you think I care about Silver Crest's bride price? You should. You're an alpha king. Political. Alliances matter. Pack relationships matter. I'm just mine, Thorn growls, and his eyes flash with silver light. You're mine now, under my protection. And Silver Crest can go to hell. The possessiveness in his voice makes Lyra's broken wolf whimper with longing. Daddy? A small voice calls from behind them. Kale, standing at the tree line with Mrs. Chen. Why is Lyra crying? Why are you naked? Thorn releases Lyra long enough to shift back to wolf form, then back to human, clothes materializing with the transformation through pack magic. Kale, return to the house with Mrs. Chen. But Lyra, now. The alpha command isn't directed at Kale, but Mrs. Chen responds to it, gently guiding the protesting boy away. When they're alone again, Thorn turns back to Lyra. You're not running. Not from Silver Crest. Not from me. Not from whatever consequences you think you deserve for saving yourself from forced bonding. You can't just keep me, Lyra argues weakly. Pack law says, a rejected Omega has no standing, Thorn interrupts, which means Silver Crest has no claim on you. You're packless, which makes you available for claiming by any pack that will take you. His hand cups her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. I'm claiming you. For Nightshade Pack. For my household. For my son who needs you. He pauses, his thumb wiping away her tears. And for myself, though that's a complication neither of us is ready for. Lyra's breath catches. What? My wolf knows you, Thorn says quietly. Has known since that first night, but I've been fighting it because you're young and traumatized and I'm not ready to replace your mate. Lyra finishes. Not ready to risk another loss, he corrects. But ready or not, you're here. And I'm not letting Silver Crest take you. He takes her hand, and electricity sparks between them. Both of them feel it, judging by how Thorn's eyes widen. Come, he says. Silver Crest's envoys are waiting. Time to face this properly. The meeting takes place in Thorn's formal office, a room designed to intimidate. 4 Silver Crest wolves stand on one side, all of them alphas or high-ranking betas. Vera and her security team line the walls. And at the massive desk sits Thorn, radiating cold fury. Lyra stands behind him, as protocol dictates. Silent. Watching. The lead Silver Crest Alpha, a scarred male named Garrett, doesn't waste time on pleasantries. Alpha King Thorn, we've tracked a runaway Omega to your territory. Lyra Ashwood, formerly of Silver Crest. She fled before fulfilling her bonding contract, costing our pack a significant alliance. I'm aware of who she is, Thorn says coolly. What I'm not aware of is why you think you have any right to enter my territory making demands. She's Silver Crest property, Garrett argues. Raised by our pack, promised in an alliance. She was rejected, Thorn interrupts, his voice dropping, to a dangerous level. Cast out of your pack 3 months ago. That rejection severed all ties and obligations. Or are you suggesting Silver Crest made an error in that rejection? Garrett's jaw tightens. The rejection was premature. Made in haste. Made legally and witnessed. Thorn counters. Which means Lyra Ashwood has no pack affiliation and no obligations to Silver Crest. The bride price is between you and whatever pack you made that arrangement with. Thorn cuts him off. Not my concern. One of the other Silver Crest wolves speaks up. Alpha King, surely you understand the delicate nature of pack alliances. This woman's flight has caused significant political damage. This woman, Thorn says, standing slowly, is under Nightshade Pack protection, which makes her my responsibility, and your attempts to reclaim her an act of aggression against my pack. The room goes very still. We mean no offense, Garrett says carefully. We simply seek to recover what she belongs to no one. Thorn snarls, and now his alpha power fills the room like a physical force. She's a free Omega who I've chosen to offer sanctuary to. If Silver Crest has a problem with that, they can take it up with the Council of Alphas. The Council will side with traditional pack law, Garrett argues. A promised Omega who flees her obligations, had no obligations once she was rejected. Vera interjects from her position by the wall. Alpha King Thorn is correct. Pack law is clear on this. Garrett's eyes narrow as he looks at Lyra. She didn't tell you everything, did she? About why she really can't shift? About what she is? Lyra's blood turns to ice. Enlighten me, Thorn says dangerously. She's cursed. Garrett says with satisfaction. Silver bound by blood magic after she tried to kill her intended mate. We rejected her not because she was weak, but because she was dangerous. The lie is so smooth, so believable, that Lyra almost believes it herself. That's not... She starts. Silence, Thorn commands, not unkindly. He keeps his eyes on Garrett. You're claiming Lyra Ashwood attempted murder? Her intended alpha woke with silver poisoning the night before their bonding, Garrett explains. Lyra was the only one with access to his chambers. When questioned, her wolf became violent, uncontrollable. It took 5 alphas to restrain her. The pack elders decided silver binding was the only option. It's masterfully done. Just enough truth twisted with lies to sound plausible. Is this true? Thorn asks, finally looking at Lyra. No, she whispers. The silver poisoning happened, but I didn't cause it, and my wolf went wild because they were trying to force mark me without consent. She's a proven liar, Garrett interrupts. Unstable, dangerous, and you've brought her into your home, given her access to your heir. I'm actually doing you a favor, Alpha King, by offering to take this problem off your hands. Lyra sees the calculation in Thorn's eyes, sees him weighing Garrett's story against the woman he's only known for days. Everyone out, Thorn says suddenly, except Lyra. Alpha King Garrett protests. Out, now. You'll wait for my decision. Vera herds the Silver Crest wolves out, though not before Garrett shoots Lyra a look of pure malice. When they're alone, Thorn moves around the desk until he's standing directly in front of her. Truth, he commands, using his alpha voice. All of it, now. The compulsion pulls the words from her throat. I was promised to an alpha I'd never met, arranged by my pack leaders for political alliance. When I couldn't shift properly at my presentation ceremony, they hid it, said it was nerves, pushed forward with the bonding contract anyway. She's shaking now, but the words keep coming. The night before the ceremony, my intended alpha came to my room, drunk, said he wanted to test the merchandise. I fought him, scratched him with my nails. The next morning he was sick with silver poisoning. Tears streamed down her face. I had silver dust under my fingernails from working in the pack's jewelry shop. That's all. It wasn't intentional. But they decided I was a threat. Used that as an excuse to break the contract without returning the bride price. She meets Thorn's eyes. The blood magic happened when I tried to fight the forced marking. My wolf went wild, yes, but not because I'm dangerous. Because I was being held down, violated, while they tried to burn an unwanted bond into my soul. The silence stretches between them. The silver binding, Thorn says finally. Is that why your wolf can't shift? Lyra nods miserably. It's locked inside me, chained with magic I don't know how to break. Thorn's expression is unreadable. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because who would believe a packless Omega over the testimony of an entire pack? Lyra asks bitterly. Because the moment anyone knows about the blood, magic, they'll see me as dangerous, corrupted, better off dead. I'm not anyone, Thorn says quietly. He turns away, pacing to the window. For a long moment, he says nothing, just stares out at his territory. The silver binding can be broken, he says finally. But it requires specific magic, a healer with knowledge of blood curses, and it's dangerous. Could kill you if done wrong. Hope flares in Lyra's chest. You believe me? Thorn turns back to her, and the look in his eyes makes her breath catch. My son knew you on sight. My wolf recognizes you in ways I don't understand. And you've had multiple opportunities to harm Kale if you were truly dangerous. He moves closer. Yes, Lyra, I believe you. What about Silver Crest? Garrett's testimony can go to hell along with the rest of his pack, Thorn says flatly. You're not going back with them. End of discussion. But the political complications are mine to handle, he interrupts. Your job is to heal, to let me help you break those chains. Lyra's legs give out. She would fall if Thorn didn't catch her, his arms strong and sure around her. Why? She whispers against his chest. Why risk so much for someone like me? His hand comes up, threading through her hair. Because Cale isn't the only one who dreams, Lyra. I've been dreaming too. Of someone who smells like home, like safety, like Pack. He pulls back just enough to look at her. I didn't understand it until now. Didn't want to understand it. But my wolf has been trying to tell me for days. Tell you what? Lyra asks, though her heart already knows. That you're mine, Thorn says simply. Not as property or obligation, but as mate. As bond. As the other half of my soul. The fated mate bond. The thing Lyra never thought she'd experience because of her broken wolf. That's impossible, she whispers. I can't bond properly. The magic is a lock, not a break. Thorn interrupts. Your wolf is there, Lyra. Chained but whole. And she knows me. Knows my wolf. He leans down until their foreheads touch. Let me help you break the chains. Let me give you back your wolf. Your Pack. Your bond. And if it doesn't work? Lyra asks. If I'm too damaged to, then we'll find another way, Thorn says fiercely. But I'm not giving up on you. On us. On what Cale knew from the moment he saw you. Lyra closes her eyes, letting herself feel this. The warmth of Thorn's embrace. The rightness of being in his arms. The way her broken wolf strains against her silver chains, desperate to reach his. Okay, she whispers. Okay, I'll try. Outside the office, she can hear Garrett and his wolves being escorted from the estate. Can hear Vera's sharp commands and the finality of doors closing. And in her chest, behind layers of silver and blood magic and trauma, her wolf howls, for the first time in years, with something that sounds like hope. The rest of the day passes in, a blur. Thorn sends messages to Pack healers, researchers, anyone with knowledge of blood magic and silver curses. He fields calls from council members questioning his decision to harbor a cursed Omega. He stands firm against every argument, every warning. Lyra watches it all from the corner of his office, amazed and terrified by his certainty. You're burning bridges, she says quietly during a break between calls, making enemies for someone you barely know. Thorn looks up from his desk. I'm protecting what's mine. That's what alphas do. But I'm not officially yours. We're not bonded. Yet, he interrupts. We're not bonded yet. The certainty in his voice makes her shiver. That evening, Cale finds her in the library again, curled in her now favorite window seat. He climbs up beside her without invitation, his small body warm and trusting. Daddy said Silver Crest tried to take you, he says. But he told them no. He did, Lyra confirms. Because you're ours now, Cale says matter-of-factly. I told you the moon goddess doesn't make mistakes. Lyra pulls him close, breathing in his puppy-sweet scent. Your daddy is very brave. And very stubborn. He gets that from Mama, Cale says. She was stubborn too, never gave up on anything. There's pride in his voice, but also sadness. The grief of a child who's lost his mother but is learning to carry that loss. Tell me about her, Lyra says gently. About Sarah. Cale's face lights up. She was the strongest fighter in the whole pack. Daddy says she could beat anyone, even other alphas, and she had long black hair that she'd braid before battles. He touches Lyra's blonde hair. Yours is different, but still pretty. Did she sing to you? All the time, Cale says. Lullabies about brave wolves and moon goddesses. I can't remember all the words anymore, but I remember how they made me feel. Safe. That's the most important part, Lyra tells him. The feeling. They sit uncomfortable. Silence for a moment, watching the sun set over the gardens. Can I tell you a secret? Cale asks. Of course. I'm glad you're here, he whispers. I know it makes me bad, because it means I'm not sad about Mama anymore, but you make everything feel okay again. Lyra's heart clenches. Oh, Cale. Loving someone new doesn't mean you stop loving someone who's gone. Your Mama would want you to be happy, to find people who make you feel safe. Do you think she sent you? Cale asks. From wherever she is? Lyra thinks about fate and moon goddesses, and how she ended up in that specific alley on that specific night. I think maybe she did, Lyra says. Because someone needed to make sure you and your daddy kept smiling. Cale beams at her, then surprises her by pressing a kiss to her cheek. I love you, he says simply, with the absolute certainty only children possess. The words crack something open in Lyra's chest. I love you too, she whispers back, realizing it's true. When Cale leaves for dinner, Lyra stays in the window seat, her hand over her heart where her wolf strains against her chains. Tomorrow, Thorn says, a healer will arrive. Someone with knowledge of blood magic and silver curses. Someone who might be able to give Lyra back her wolf. The prospect terrifies her, but Cale's I love you echoes in her mind. And Thorn's you're mine settles over her like a warm blanket. Maybe, just maybe, she can be brave enough to try. The healer arrives at dawn, an ancient female wolf with silver hair and eyes that seem to see through skin and bone. Her name is Morgana, and she moves with the authority of someone who's forgotten more about magic than most wolves will ever learn. She examines Lyra in a private room, her weathered hands tracing the rejection mark on Lyra's shoulder, feeling the silver chains wrapped around her wolf. Sloppy work, Morgana mutters. Whoever did this blood binding wasn't trained properly. It's all wrong. Brutal. Can you break it? Thorn asks from where he stands by the door. Morgana shoots him a look. Can I break it? Boy, I've been breaking curses since before your grandfather was born. The question isn't, can I? It's, will she survive the process? Lyra's stomach drops. What are the risks? The silver is wrapped around your wolf's essence, Morgana explains. Breaking the chains means tearing through magic that's been there for months. It's going to hurt. A lot. And there's a chance your wolf has been dormant so long she won't wake properly. But there's also a chance she will, Thorn says. There's always a chance, Morgana allows. Question is, girl, are you willing to bet your life on it? Lyra looks at Thorn, seeing the tension in his shoulders, the worry he's trying to hide. Then she thinks of Cale, of his smile, and his certainty that she belongs here. Yes, she says. I'm willing. Morgana nods approvingly. Good. Then we begin tonight, under the full moon. Its power will help. She turns to Thorn. You'll need to be present. Your alpha power can anchor her, keep her from being lost in the pain. I'll be there, Thorn says immediately. When Morgana leaves to prepare, Thorn moves to Lyra's side. You don't have to do this. We can find other ways. I want to, Lyra interrupts. I want to try. For myself. For Cale. She meets his eyes. And for you. Something blazes in his silver gaze. For us, he corrects quietly. He takes her hand, and that electric spark jumps between them again. Stronger this time, more insistent. My wolf is pushing, Thorn admits. Has been since the moment we met, demanding I claim you, bond you, mark you as mine. But you're holding back, Lyra observes. Because you need a choice, Thorn says fiercely. After everything Silver Crest did to you, forcing bonds and chains and obligations, you need to choose freely, without compulsion, without my alpha power influencing you. Lyra's throat tights at his consideration. And if I choose you, then I'll spend every day proving I'm worthy of that choice, Thorn promises. He leans down, his forehead touching hers. Tonight we break your chains. Tomorrow, if you'll have me, we start building something new. Lyra closes her eyes, letting herself believe it might be possible. The full moon rises over nightshade territory in silver glory. Lyra stands in a sacred clearing, similar to the one where Cale was presented, with Morgana on one side and Thorn on the other. The entire pack has gathered, forming circles around the central space. They've come to witness the breaking of the curse, drawn by curiosity and pack bonds. Lyra can feel their stares, their judgments, their doubts. But Cale stands in the front row, held by Mrs. Chen, his silver eyes bright with absolute faith. Are you ready? Morgana asks. Lyra nods, though her hands shake. This will hurt, the healer warns again. More than anything you've experienced, you'll want to give up, to surrender to the pain. Don't. Hold on to your alpha's strength. Let it anchor you. Thorn moves behind Lyra, his hands on her shoulders. I'm here, he murmurs. I won't let you fall. Morgana begins to chant in the old language, words that make the air shimmer with power. She traces symbols on Lyra's skin with a paste that burns like ice. Then she places both hands over Lyra's heart, and the real pain begins. It feels like being torn apart from the inside, like every nerve is on fire while simultaneously being frozen. Lyra screams, her body arching as Morgana's magic digs into the silver chains, seeking the blood curse that binds them. "Hold her," Morgana commands. Thorn's arms wrap around Lyra, his power flooding into her, trying to shield her from the worst of it. "Your wolf," Morgana chants. "Call to your wolf. Demand she wake. Demand she break free." Lyra tries, but the pain is too much. She can't think, can't breathe, can't. "Lyra," Thorn's voice in her ear, strong and certain. "I need you to fight. Kale needs you to fight. Your wolf is in there. Call her." Through the agony, Lyra reaches inward, past the silver chains and blood magic, past the trauma and fear, to the place where her wolf has been sleeping, waiting. "Wake up," Lyra demands. "Please. I need you. We need you." For a moment, nothing. Just pain and burning and the feeling of being unmade. Then, like a spark in darkness, she feels it. Her wolf. Not broken. Not weak. Furious. The wolf surges against the chains, and Lyra screams again as magic shatters. Silver dissolves. Blood curses break with sounds like breaking glass. And suddenly, impossibly, Lyra is shifting. The transformation is nothing like the agonizing failures of her past. This is right. Natural. Her bones reshape, her muscles reform, and where a broken woman knelt, a silver-white wolf now stands. The pack gasps as one. Lyra's wolf is beautiful, larger than expected for an Omega, with eyes that glow pale blue in the moonlight. She shakes out her fur, feeling strong and whole for the first time in years. And then she catches Thorn's scent. Pine and smoke and alpha power. "Mate," her wolf recognizes. "Ours." Thorn shifts in response, his massive black wolf appearing. They circle each other, and the pack watches in awed silence as the Alpha King and the broken Omega who is broken no longer complete an ancient ritual. Recognition, acceptance, claiming. When they shift back to human form, they're both breathing hard, kneeling in the grass facing each other. "Your wolf," Thorn says hoarsely. "She's magnificent." "She knows you," Lyra whispers, tears streaming down her face. "She's known you this whole time." "Mate bond," Morgana confirms from where she's observing. "Fated pair. The moon goddess really doesn't make mistakes." Kale breaks free from Mrs. Chen, running into the clearing. "I told you," he shouts joyfully. "I told you she was. Supposed to be ours." He throws himself at Lyra, who catches him, laughing and crying at the same time. Thorn pulls them both close, his arms around his son and his mate, and for the first time since Sarah died, he feels complete. The pack begins to howl, accepting what the moon goddess has ordained. And in the sacred clearing, under the full moon's light, a new family is born. The morning sun filters through the curtains of what is now their shared bedroom, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. Lyra wakes slowly, awareness returning in layers, the softness of silk sheets, the warmth of a body pressed against her back, the steady rhythm of breathing that isn't her own. Thorn, her mate, her alpha, her home. 6 months since the curse broke. 6 months since her wolf howled its recognition under the full moon. 6 months since everything changed. His arm tightens around her waist, pulling her closer. "You're thinking too loud," he murmurs against her neck, his voice rough, with sleep. "I'm not thinking anything," Lyra protests, though she's smiling. "Liar." His lips trace the bonding mark on her throat, the place where he claimed her 3 months ago, in a ceremony that had the entire pack howling their approval. "I can feel your emotions through the bond. Contentment, gratitude, and something else. Wonder," Lyra admits quietly. "I still can't believe this is real sometimes, that I'm here, that I'm yours." Thorn shifts, rolling her onto her back so he can look down at her. His silver eyes are soft in the morning light, so different from the cold Alpha King who found her in that alley. "Ours," he corrects, as he always does. "You're ours, mine, Kale's, the pack's." His hand cups her face. "And we're yours, every day, for the rest of our lives." The bond between them pulses with warmth, with certainty, with a love that still takes Lyra's breath away. Before she can respond, their bedroom door bursts open. "Mama, Daddy," the puppies open their eyes. Kale launches himself onto the bed, all excited energy and joy. At nearly 5 now, he's grown taller, stronger, more confident. But he still starts every morning the same way, checking that both his parents are where they're supposed to be. "Kale," Thorn says with mock sternness. "What's the rule about knocking?" "But the puppies, Daddy. Luna's puppies. They can see now." Luna, the pack's head guardian wolf, had given birth to a litter 6 weeks ago. Kale has been obsessed with them since, visiting the den every day, charting their progress with the dedication of a future alpha. "Then I suppose we should go see them," Lyra says, laughing as Kale bounces on the bed. "After breakfast, but after breakfast," Thorn repeats, and there's just enough alpha command in it that Kale sighs dramatically but complies. "Fine. But we have to hurry. Beta Marcus said I could help name the runt if I finish my lessons early today." He scrambles off the bed, already chattering about potential names as he races toward his own room to get dressed. When he's gone, Thorn pulls Lyra close again. 5 more minutes, he murmurs. Just 5 more minutes of peace. Lyra settles against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "He's happy." "He is," Thorn agrees. "Thanks to you." "Thanks to us," Lyra corrects, echoing his earlier words. "We're a team." "We are," Thorn says, and there's wonder in his own voice now. "I didn't think I'd ever have this again. A mate, a complete family. After Sarah, I thought—" "I know," Lyra interrupts gently. They've had this conversation before, in the quiet hours of the night when old grief surfaces. But she would want this for you, for Kale. "She would," Thorn agrees. "In fact, she probably orchestrated it from wherever she is now. Sarah was always terrifyingly efficient at getting what she wanted." Lyra smiles, secure enough now in her place to talk about the woman who came before, to honor Sarah's memory without feeling threatened by it. "Come on," she says, kissing his jaw. "Before Kale comes back and drags us out of bed himself. Breakfast is chaos in the best way." Kale talks non-stop about the puppies, about his lessons, about the upcoming pack festival, where he'll demonstrate his first formal shift for the assembled wolves. Mrs. Chen bustles around them, her affection for their little family evident in every carefully prepared dish. Vera joins them halfway through, as she often does now. The head of security and Lyra have developed an unlikely friendship over the months, bonded by shared protectiveness over Kale, and grudging respect for each other's strengths. The Eastern Border Patrol spotted Silver Crest scouts again last night, Vera reports to Thorn. 3rd time this month. Lyra's hand tightens on her fork. Silver Crest. They haven't tried to reclaim her since that first confrontation, but they watch, always watching. "They're just observing," Thorn says, his hand finding Lyra's under the table, squeezing reassuringly. "Testing boundaries. They won't cross onto our territory again." "What if they do?" Lyra asks quietly. "Then we'll handle it," Vera says with casual menace. "The pack is more than ready to defend our Luna." Our Luna. The title still feels strange on Lyra's shoulders sometimes, but she's grown into it over these months. Found her place not just as Thorn's mate and Kale's mother figure, but as a leader in her own right. The weak Omega who couldn't shift now runs with the pack every full moon. The rejected outcast now sits in council meetings, her insights valued and respected. The broken woman who thought she had no future now plans festivals and settles disputes, and teaches young Omegas that their worth isn't determined by their rank. "Can we go see the puppies now?" Kale asks, practically vibrating with impatience. "Please?" Thorn looks at Lyra, who nods. "Go ahead. Your father and I will catch up." Kyle whoops and races from the room, Vera following at a more sedate pace to supervise. Alone with Thorn, Lyra takes a deep breath. "I need to tell you something." His expression immediately sharpens with concern. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong," Lyra says quickly. "Actually, something's very right. I wanted to wait until I was sure." She takes his hand, placing it on her still flat stomach. "I'm pregnant." The words hang in the air between them. Thorn goes very still, his silver eyes wide with shock. "You're about 6 weeks along," Lyra confirms. "Morgana confirmed it yesterday. She says everything looks healthy, normal. That my wolf is strong enough to carry to term without complications. Thorn's hand trembles slightly against her stomach. A baby. We're having a baby. We are, Lyra says, watching emotions play across his face. Joy, fear, wonder, grief for the child he nearly lost once before. I'm terrified, he admits hoarsely. After what happened with Sarah, after almost losing Kale. No, Lyra says, covering his hand with hers. But I'm not Sarah. This isn't that situation. Morgana says I'm strong, healthy, that the bond between us will actually help stabilize the pregnancy. And if something goes wrong, then we'll face it together, Lyra interrupts firmly. But Thorn, we can't live in fear of what might happen. We have to trust in what is. He pulls her into his arms, holding her like she's something precious and fragile. Kale is going to lose his mind. Lyra laughs against his chest. He's been asking for a sibling since the bonding ceremony. He has. Thorn agrees. He pulls back, his hands framing her face. Thank you. For what? For giving me this. For giving us this. For being brave enough to trust me. To trust the bond. To build this life with me. Lyra's eyes fill with tears. You saved me. Both of you. When I was dying in that alley, when I thought I had nothing left to live for, you found me. Kale found you, Thorn corrects with a small smile. We just had sense enough to keep you. The moon goddess doesn't make mistakes, Lyra quotes, echoing Kale's constant refrain. No, Thorn agrees, kissing her softly. She doesn't. They tell Kale that afternoon, in the puppy den, where he's surrounded by wriggling balls of fur. His reaction is everything Lyra hoped for. A baby? He shrieks, loud enough that several puppies startle. Really? A real baby? Really? Lyra confirms, laughing as he throws himself at her, hugging her waist tight. Can it be a girl? I want a sister. Boys are boring. We don't get to choose, Thorn says, amused. The moon goddess decides. Then I'll ask her for a sister. Kale declares with absolute certainty. She listens to me. She sent Mama, didn't she? The casual way he calls her Mama still makes Lyra's heart swell. He started doing it about 2 months after the curse breaking, tentatively at first, then with increasing confidence. Now it's as natural as breathing. When will the baby be here? Kale asks. 7 more months, Lyra explains. Right around the spring equinox. That's forever. Kale groans, but his hand is gentle as he touches her stomach. Hi, baby, he whispers. I'm your big brother, Kale. I'm going to teach you everything. How to shift, how to track, how to be brave. Thorn catches Lyra's eye over their son's head, and the look they share is full of hope and joy, and the bone-deep satisfaction of a family made whole. That evening, they walk through the pack grounds together, the 3 of them plus Vera, trailing at a respectful distance. Pack members nod and smile as they pass, and Lyra can feel the warmth of belonging that was so absent in her old life. Mama, look. Kale points to the training grounds where young wolves are practicing their forms. That's where I'll train when I'm 6. That's still a year away, Thorn reminds him. I know, but I'm practicing at home. Beta Marcus says I'm really good for my age. They watch the training for a while, Kale providing running commentary on each wolf's technique with the confidence of a future alpha. He's going to be a strong leader. Lyra observes quietly. He is, Thorn agrees. And he'll have a strong Luna beside him someday. Just like I do. Lyra leans into his warmth, marveling at how far she's come. From the broken Omega in an alley to the Luna of the most powerful pack in the territories. From believing she had no future to carrying that future inside her. Do you ever miss it? Thorn asks suddenly. Your old pack? The life you had before? Lyra doesn't even have to think about her answer. No, that wasn't living. It was just surviving. This, she gestures to Kale running ahead, to the pack land spread around them, to Thorn beside her. This is living. No regrets? Only that I didn't find you sooner, Lyra says honestly. That I wasted so much time believing I was broken. You were never broken, Thorn says fiercely, just locked away, waiting for the right key. And you were that key, Lyra says. You and Kale both. They fall into comfortable silence, watching the sun begin its descent toward the horizon. The sky bleeds orange and pink, painting everything in warm light. "Daddy, Mama, come see," Kale calls from where he's discovered something near the tree line. They follow, and find him kneeling beside a small injured bird. "It fell from its nest," he explains, his young face serious with concern. "We have to help it." Lyra kneels beside him, examining the bird gently. "Its wing is hurt, but I think we can fix it. Let's take it to the healer's cabin." "Will it fly again?" Kale asks worriedly. "I think so," Lyra says. "Sometimes things that seem broken just need time and care to heal." Kale looks up at her with those ancient silver eyes. "Like you," he says simply. "You seemed broken, but you just needed us." The truth of it hits Lyra square in the chest. "Yes," she manages. "Exactly like me." Thorn scoops Kale up, bird carefully cradled in the boy's hands. "Come on. Let's go see what we can do for our feathered friend." As they walk back toward the pack house, Lyra catches sight of their reflection in a window. A family, complete and whole, and exactly where they're meant to be. Behind them, the full moon begins to rise, and somewhere in the forest, wolves howl their evening songs. Later that night, after Kale is asleep and the injured bird is resting in the healer's care, Lyra and Thorn stand on their private balcony, watching moonlight paint the world silver. "I was thinking," Thorn says, pulling her back against his chest, "about names, for the baby." "Already?" Lyra laughs. "We have 7 months." "We have 7 months." "I know, but I can't help it. I keep thinking." He pauses, and Lyra can feel his emotion through their bond. "If it's a girl, I'd like to name her Sarah, after her mother, if that's okay with you." Lyra turns in his arms, seeing the vulnerability in his face. The love for his lost mate that hasn't diminished, just made room for new love alongside it. "I think that's perfect," she says softly. "Sarah would be honored, and our daughter would be too, carrying such a strong name. And if it's a boy, then we'll figure it out together," Lyra says, "like we do everything now." Thorn kisses her, and the bond between them flares with warmth and love and certainty. "Thank you," he whispers against her lips, "for giving me this second chance, for loving my son, for building this future with me." "Thank you for finding me," Lyra replies, "for seeing me when I was invisible, for believing Kale when he said I smelled like home." "You do smell like home," Thorn says. "Like pack, like mate, like everything I didn't know I was missing." They stand together under the moon, two wolves who found each other against all odds, building a life from broken pieces and faded bonds. And in his room down the hall, Kale sleeps peacefully, dreaming of puppies and siblings, and a future bright with promise. The moon goddess watches over them all, satisfied with the family she wove together from threads of pain and hope and love, because she never makes mistakes. She only makes miracles. The spring equinox arrives with gentle rain and new growth pushing through the earth. In the Luna's chambers, Lyra holds her daughter for the first time, a perfect silver-haired baby with her father's eyes, and a cry that could wake the entire pack house. "She's beautiful," Thorn whispers, his voice thick with emotion as he traces a finger down the baby's tiny cheek. "Perfect, just like her mother." "Can I see? Can I see?" Kale bounces on his toes beside the bed, desperate for his first glimpse of the sister he's been waiting months for. Lyra shifts carefully, making room for him. "Come here, big brother. Meet Sarah." Kale climbs onto the bed with exaggerated care, his silver eyes going wide as he takes in the tiny bundle. "She's so small," he breathes. "Smaller than the puppies were." "You were this small once," Thorn reminds him. "No way," Kale protests, but he's already extending one finger for his sister to grasp. When her tiny hand wraps around it with surprising strength, his entire face transforms with wonder. "She's holding me, Mama. She knows I'm her brother." "Of course she does," Lyra says softly. "She's been listening to your voice for months." Sarah makes a small sound, somewhere between a coo and a whimper, and Kale immediately starts humming. It's the lullaby Lyra sings to him at night, the one about brave wolves and moon goddesses. The baby quiets instantly, her unfocused eyes trying to find the source of the familiar sound. "See?" Kale says triumphantly. I told you I'd be a good big brother. Thorn's hand finds Lyra's, squeezing gently. Through their bond, she feels everything he's feeling. Relief that this birth was nothing like Sarah's death. Joy at this new life they've created together. Gratitude that they've all survived to see this moment. And love, overwhelming and absolute, for the family they've built from ashes and hope. A soft knock interrupts the moment. Mrs. Chen enters, followed by Morgana, Vera, and several pack elders. They've come to witness the traditional blessing, to acknowledge the newest member of the Nightshade line. The pack waits to meet their princess, Morgana says, though her eyes are kind as she takes in the family scene. But there's no rush. Let the Luna rest. I'm fine, Lyra insists, though exhaustion pulls at her bones. Better than fine. Happy. You're a warrior, Vera observes with rare warmth. Gave birth like an alpha. The pack already speaks of it with respect. The words would have seemed impossible 2 years ago. Lyra, the rejected Omega, earning an alpha's respect. But she's proven herself again and again, in council meetings and pack runs and quiet moments of strength that have nothing to do with physical power. What do you say, little Luna? Thorn asks Sarah, lifting her carefully into his arms. Ready to meet your pack? The baby yawns, utterly unconcerned with pack politics or royal obligations. Kale giggles. She's not scared of anything, just like Mama. Just like both her parents, Lyra corrects, watching Thorn cradle their daughter with the same careful tenderness he showed Kale all those months ago in the nursery. They make their way to the balcony overlooking the main courtyard, where hundreds of pack members have gathered. The spring rain has stopped, and sunlight breaks through the clouds in golden streams. Thorn steps forward, holding Sarah high so all can see. The Nightshade pack has a daughter, he announces, his alpha voice carrying across the assembled wolves. Sarah Moonwhisper Nightshade, named for the warrior who gave her life protecting this pack, and born under the blessing of the spring moon. The pack erupts in howls of celebration, voices rising in harmony. Lyra stands beside Thorn with Kale, pressed against her side, and feels the weight of belonging settle over her like a warm blanket. This pack, her family. I dreamed this. Kale says suddenly, looking up at her with those two wise eyes. A long time ago. Before we even found you. I dreamed we'd all be together like this. The moon goddess showed you, Lyra says, pulling him close. She did, Kale agrees. She told me someone was coming who would smell like home, who would make everything right again. He looks at his baby sister, then at his parents. She was right. Thorn wraps his free arm around Lyra, pulling her and Kale close while Sarah sleeps peacefully in the crook of his other arm. A family made whole by fate and choice, and love strong enough to break curses. Below them, the pack continues to howl their joy. And in the forest beyond, where an alley once held a dying Omega with no hope and no future, new flowers push through the earth, growing, thriving, home. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.